The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
Welcome back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, Dr. Scott Gershmer and Dr. Mark Bound, my favorites, and I hope that they are yours also. Today we will be answering listener emails, and we have a question from Travis, who lives in Greensboro, North Carolina, and Travis asks, yesterday on the 7th of October, 2025, was the anniversary of the attack on Israel 2 years ago. Trump has presented a peace plan that seems to be working as the Israelis and Hamas have agreed to a ceasefire. So, on the back of Trump's success, do you think the war might be ending? Do you see any possible obstacles to this peace plan that might derail all Trump's good work? And Scott, what do you say?
Yeah, well, I think there are two obstacles to peace, Hamas and Israel. And I think that they're probably going to remain obstacles to peace because neither of them feels that they've done what they set out to do, and they're going to continue to want to do that. So I'm a lot less optimistic, I think, than our friend here. I have said that whether you think this plan is a good plan or not, at least it's something. So I'm glad that the administration is putting it out there. I'm glad that they're meeting in Egypt. They're not in the same room, but they're working together. Separately together. There's facilitators and mediators going back and forth up and down the elevator in this hotel where one, the Hamas is in one floor and the Israelis are in another. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's important that talking is better than fighting, and any kind of talking is good right now. So I'm hopeful that something good happens from this.
Is there an actual ceasefire that's actually holding? That's my next question. And the other question that I have before you start is, I understand also that Jared Kushner is involved with this somehow. And what happens if there is an agreement? And who is going to oversee the agreement? Yeah, go ahead.
So presumably, and I have heard that Jared Kushner is there. He's known to he's known to both sides, I suppose, or at least to the people who are doing the mediating, and so he can back up Witkoff, who, let's face it, Witkoff got something from Putin that was completely the opposite of what Putin actually meant. He seems to be a little out of his depth here. And I don't know if there's any kind of breaking news as far as what's going on over there. But look, there's some momentum towards ending the war. It's been 2 years as of yesterday, and Israel doesn't usually fight long wars like this. And I think that the people of Israel are tired of it. I think they're tired of Netanyahu. I think that Netanyahu wants to continue and finish this job, but I don't know that he's going to get to do that. And I think that Trump has done a pretty good job of pushing Netanyahu back when Netanyahu has really made a monkey out of him and everybody else in the United States. Netanyahu abused Biden, who bent over backwards for him. Netanyahu has humiliated Obama. He certainly has done the same for Trump, but maybe now that's over, and that he's going to have to, he's going to read the room and realize that this has to end. But again, there's no evidence of that. Israel was bombing Gaza 2 hours after they announced the ceasefire. So, if they see targets, I think they're going to hit them. And that means that people are going to die. So I think they had till yesterday, right? Wasn't like Sunday at 6 o'clock. Yeah, today's Wednesday already. So whatever is happening is taking a lot longer than Trump was hoping that it would take. But again, anything is better than what's going on. And so we should all be hopeful that this is going to end soon.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how this plays out, plain and simple. Yeah, is it a step forward? Yeah, I guess it is. Are there roadblocks? There's plenty. I was reading in an article about one of the main issues is that Hamas may not be able to return all the hostages, the bodies, and that. And there's a prominent prisoner that Hamas is saying they want released. That may be a red line for Israel. So we're just going to have to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
So, Mark, what about if Israel is still bombing after the ceasefire was declared and people are still dying? I mean, that's not much of a ceasefire. So, obviously. So what happens to the people of Gaza? I mean, at one point Trump was saying, well, everybody had to leave. And now Trump doesn't seem to be saying that anymore. And I mean, what happens to the land and the people?
Well, if Trump has his way, we'll be turning it into the Gaza Riviera, and the Palestinians will be the underpaid workforce. And I think Scott's made mention of that before.
Right. That's what I thought. So that's still.
I mean, if that was, who knows?
Right.
I don't see too many people lining up to go hang out at the Gaza Riviera. I'm sorry. I just don't see it, especially if the Palestinians are allowed to stay, which would be fine. But if there's an element of Hamas there at all, even if it's underground, I just can't see it being a really worthwhile economic endeavor to be able to work. Now, I have to say this, and I hate to give Trump any kind of credit. What an industry that would be for the Palestinians if they could pull something like that off. Not Trump and his billionaire buddies, but the Palestinians themselves, to pull that off and make it a legitimate, safe tourist place. I mean, we were just talking about Miami, Florida. These places in Florida, they thrive on tourism. And if Gaza could be turned into something that was a legitimate, safe, free of Hamas, Palestinian business controlled, so that we know that it's benefiting the Palestinian people. What other industry could go into Gaza that they could make so much money off of? I don't know of a single one. I can't see manufacturing. Agriculture seems to be out of the question. So that leaves you with the service industry. And as I say, I hate to give Trump credit. He probably stumbled on the one economic driver or the economic industry that the Palestinians could actually take advantage of, but not. I know, and Scott's laughing about that. I mean, but not with Trump and his buddies building, Trump Casino that's probably going to go bankrupt anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sorry, but the good people of Atlantic City, you should ask them how well they did when Trump's casinos were in Atlantic City. That was a place where if you were on the strip, if you were on the boardwalk, it was a pretty nice place. But you went 2 blocks away, and I used to go to a restaurant that was a few blocks away. Good Italian restaurant, been there forever. But you would walk through really heavily depressed areas. They didn't share a lot of the wealth with the people, and it would be really on line with what they're calling the technocratic government that they want to see running that place. Do you even know what that word means? I meant to bring this up last time we talked about this. I was like, what is a technocratic government? I've never heard of such a thing. I think it must be being ruled by CEOs of tech companies who are interested in probably building data centers and things like that, which, they'll do anywhere they can trying to establish a foothold in a place that they can somehow exploit one way or another. Other than that, I really don't know what it means. I don't know why
Well,
nobody has kind of asked anybody what exactly is a technocratic government.
well, okay. So a technocratic government is a government where governance is a decision making. Decision makers are basically experts in their technical fields. That's a
Okay.
technocrat. Yeah. So you got to look at Gaza and you got to say, okay, what kind of technical expertise exists there? And I think that's kind of the way.
I think it's
And I
murdering people.
well,
Like,
yeah. Well, no, that's Hamas. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Again, if you're going to have a successful, peaceful Palestinian state, let's say, you've got to have it not be economically depressed. And as you say, it cannot be only benefiting the upper echelon, it has to benefit all of the people. And I know that's a radical, probably utopian nihilist ideology, but that's what you need to have there. But now you got to look at what materials you have to make Gaza work. Well, you don't have a lot of technical expertise, not in the things that would matter. Yeah, you got people that make rockets and some bombs and things. You got those. But as far as technical expertise, you don't have a lot there. You don't have a lot of potential for industry there. It's just the infrastructure just does not exist. And the infrastructure to build factories, and we've talked about it here before, would be very expensive, extremely expensive. As I say, agriculture is out of the question. I mean, you're not going to get a thriving agrarian economy going that's going to benefit all the people. That's not going to happen. So what are you left with? I mean, what is the industry that you are left with in Gaza that, if done properly, not by technocrats, but by a government that actually looks out for the people, which I totally understand is something we don't see very often, even here in the United States. But just that's their focus, is the prosperity of their people. The only thing you're left with is the one thing they have: beachfront property. That's all you got. So yeah, it's a long, hard road. They would need a lot of help, a lot of money. But bottom line is that when you really look at this, that's all they've got. They don't have very many other options when we're talking about Palestine, because they just don't have the expertise, the materials, all the things that you might need to be able to get that thriving economy. And when a nation has a thriving economy, and sometimes the United States is the antithesis to this. When you have a nation with a thriving economy where the people are thriving, generally they're a peaceful society, because they just don't want to rock the apple cart. And again, it's I welcome anybody else to tell me what possibly could be put in Gaza that would be beneficial to the people of Palestine that they could actually pull off.
So we have discussed this before, but I believe that there is now. I should start by saying that Egypt is building a new city in the middle of the desert, 50 miles away from Cairo, I think it is, and a brand new city. A big public works project that would go from the Gulf of Aqaba to the Mediterranean along the lines of the line in between Israel and Egypt would obviously, go right past Gaza, and would create a canal zone, pipelines, all kinds of industry. But that's a huge project that would obviously require, I don't know, dozens of years probably of work, to make happen. But the technology exists to do it now, and that would be something I think that would benefit not just the region but the world, to have another way other than the Suez Canal, which, let's face it, is pretty old at this point and not particularly adequate for the size of the ships that are going through it. So that's some vision there. But we're putting the cart before the horse, I think, when we say this.
Absolutely.
We're not ready yet there's no peace yet, right? The
Correct.
hostages are still the hostages. The people who are in Israeli prisons are still in Israeli prisons. So if we can get to the point where they're released and they're out, that would be a wonderful thing. And let's be real. Once the hostages are out, there is going to be nothing that's going to stop Israel from getting into those tunnels and destroying that entire infrastructure, because they can't allow this to go on where these tunnels and these bunkers exist that they can't get to. And this was a technological challenge that Israel was apparently not up to until now, or they didn't pursue it because they were afraid of killing their own people who were being held hostage in there. That would end if the hostages were out. But again, I'll say it again. I'll say it 1,000 times. Now, I'll give Trump great credit for this, right? I have no qualms about that. I'm still not giving him the Nobel Prize because he's killing people. He's killing fishermen and boaters in Venezuela, and all the stuff that he's doing right here in America is not conducive to a Nobel Peace Prize. That being said, if they gave it to him, it wouldn't bother me because, frankly, the Nobel Peace Prize doesn't mean anything to me anyway. Henry Kissinger has one. Yasser Arafat has one. It is a tainted medal at best. And yeah, by all means, give Trump one if it makes him happy. And if he does, and if he pulls this off, and they actually get a ceasefire now that leads to something a little bit more substantial, it would be great.
Yep.
All kudos to him.
Yep. And, again, this is from Travis in Greensboro. Scott's correct. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, one step at a time into this. But at the same time, the people, as we're beginning to develop, as these peace process develops and moves forward, the last thing you want to do is get something really positive going forward and then have forgotten something, have not addressed something that you probably should have thought of before. We do not need to have another debacle like after World War II, when basically the British and whoever carved up the Middle East with arbitrary lines without doing any forethought. Because that's why we're in the position we are in now. And yes, it is extremely important to get the hostages back. It is extremely important to get peace and stop the carnage. But at the same time, we have to look forward a little bit and say, all right, if that was to all happen, how do we sustain that? Sustainability has got to be there. And, there's got to be serious people at the table who are saying, okay, yep, we know we got to do A before we do B. We got that part. But we've got to think about what the hell we're going to do, what B and C and D and E is. And that would be my position. I will give Trump credit for that. Absolutely. If it works out, I won't give him the credit he seems to think he deserves, because this really there's a lot of players in this. There's a lot of there's a lot of hands in this pot, a lot of cooks in the kitchen on this. So yeah, he presented the ultimatum. Okay, it seems to be working out rather well for him. Great, but I'm again, I truly believe that in the process of peace, no matter what peace is, how you achieve peace, which is what everybody wants, I think you've got to think ahead too, because if you don't, again, we're going to end up with Gaza being nothing more than a small area of the Middle East that was so screwed up by the British when they did all the stuff that they did. So that's, yep.
I'm not sure that Netanyahu wants peace, though. Isn't it to his advantage to try to keep this going so that he avoids losing his power and going to prison? And and I agree. I was thinking about the unwanted consequences, and I don't know that much about Jared Kushner, except that he could not get a security clearance in the first Trump administration, and the FBI and others told Trump that Kushner did not warrant one, and Trump overrode them and gave Kushner one anyway, and that Kushner got something like $2 billion from the Saudis. So, I don't know. There's certainly a lot of conflicts of interest there, and I don't know how far ahead any of the primary parties or the primary mediators and facilitators and negotiators are looking, and how alert anyone is to unwanted consequences of any agreement. Because as you say, Mark, this has got to be sustainable. And there's A leads to B, but you can't do C until, B point one and point two and point three are addressed, and somebody may not be thinking about B point four, and
Right,
then
but
there's A point,
I get, I get,
8.6 and all that. Go ahead.
I get where you're going with this, but you got to start somewhere. I mean, the longest
Oh,
journey starts
absolutely.
with a single step, and we need a single step. I'll
Oh
say
yeah,
this
I
about
understand that.
Kushner was able to get two, maybe three Arab countries to have normalized relations with Israel, what they call the Abraham Accords. The UAE was one of them. I think Morocco was another. So those are two Arab countries that have never had any conflict with Israel. So that he's doing the easy work first. The hard work would be Saudi Arabia, and this would have to be a precursor for that work to be done. It certainly doesn't bother me that he's there. Again, the people who are negotiating know him from the past, know him from experience. Witkoff has not really been all that himself, so it's important to have somebody in there that has a little credibility. And I think that Kushner has more credibility in the world of Trump. There's no, the experts, the real diplomats are discredited because they're woke or whatever. So you're not going to see like Aaron David Miller or whatever his name is going over there and working this out. You're not going to see the foreign relations, the guy there going over there and doing that. You're not going to see, real diplomats. The plan is very, very similar to the plan that Anthony Blinken had when he was the Secretary of State. So they just took the plan, they crossed out the name Blinken, they wrote in Trump, and this is now the Trump plan. Fine. Absolutely fine. As far as Netanyahu is concerned, look, I mean, it's getting bad out there, right? An anti-Semitic attack in the north of England on Yom Kippur, terrible, terrible stuff. There's a joke going around. A Zionist and an anti-Zionist walk into a bar. The bartender says, "We don't serve Jews." Everybody's getting painted with the same brush now, and there are a lot of people who don't like it. And anti-Semitism is up way high, and it's about time that American Jews start telling Netanyahu in no uncertain words that we want this to end, and we want the hostages home, and whatever you need to do afterwards within the confines of this framework. No more bombing. If you need to do covert activity, go for it. If you need to fill the tunnels in with water, fine. But this can't go on forever. It can't. It's not the kind of Israel's not set up for a long war, and this has been a long war for Israel.
So hopefully we answered that one.
Yeah. Thank you, Travis, for your question. We definitely appreciate it, and we appreciate your taking the time to listen and to spend some time with us on the Nova Society. And if you are not yet subscribed, any of our listeners are not yet subscribed on the platform of your choice, please do so. The subscription is free, and we look forward to seeing you again next time on the Nova Society.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So, for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Science. The JCIS is an open journal for upcoming scholars. The JCIS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis. The JCIS is a publication of NovaWorks, a scholarly depository at Nova Southeastern University. A link to the journal is in our description.